and we back, and we back, huh, and we back, and we back, and hey, this ain't no intro, this the entree. Get that intro with Kanye and sound like Andre. Tryna turn my baby mom to my fiance. She like music, she from Houston, like Auntie Beyonce. What is up, everybody? Happy Sunday night. Saturday night, and we in the spot. Don't believe me, just watch. Come on. We are live on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. We're running the gambit talking about all the different things that are happening on the other side of Love Island because, my goodness, Love Island definitely taught us a lot about ourselves if we actually take the time to listen and to pay attention. But if we're not paying attention, then it just simply becomes another thing that we consumed. And I think that there's so much more than that we can put together and pull together than just that. So I think that's the fascinating thing that we can figure out really quickly here. Like, what more are we supposed to be learning from these shows? Because, it's a social experiment for sure. Like it's a space that is meant to teach us and test us on some things. But I think that the way that we've gone about it is dangerous. I don't like people calling KC red pill or incel because it does not make sense. Like, logically speaking, what red pill and incel mean, right? Incel, first of all, like type of what's up? Incel don't like women. See, the crazy thing is my clients actually like women. Yeah, hidden and quit is not my thing. But I do find it fascinating that, like I've said a number of times, like the rhetoric itself, some of the things that he said, some of the things that he like mentioned, some of the ways that he talked, I think are very, very, shaped in this idea of not maybe knowing better language. One of the things I used to talk about all the time, what's up everybody on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, I love y'all. One of the things I used to talk about all the time in DEI trainings is that the language goalpost is constantly moving. What it means to be in these different language spaces is a constantly moving and evolving space. And because of that, when that language evolves and changes, those people who are not privy to those language updates oftentimes are labeled as different things: misogynist, sexist, racist, homophobic, transphobic. And those things might not be reflective of their actual position, but oftentimes that they are reflective of the fact that the language itself has shifted and changes. So, some of the stuff he said very much sounded to me like some stuff that a dude who's like not ever been in those spaces, he just does not know. Some of it is a byproduct of like the environments that he was in. Some of it was not okay. And I think we can acknowledge all those things because he acknowledged all those things. And I think that's a very, very important thing, is like he acknowledged it. So the fact that he actually sat down and said, hey, I watched myself, and like even in his After Sun interview, he was like, man, I would never have like gone out and said some of those things just like off rip. So man, I'm just like, I'm disappointed in myself and the things that I said and the ways that I acted. And it happened because I had all this resentment built up, and I should have said something. I should have moved different. I should have said something different. And then once through all that, then watching myself like, dang, the things that I said weren't good, and then he apologized for them. And so I think that the immediate assigning, I think when we label people, it's discarding, right? When we go, this person is X, we throw people away as opposed to like giving them the opportunity to, I don't see a red pill man having a trans friend. It's just not a thing. I don't see an incel having a trans. Like there are so many elements of how he showed up on the show that just, it would not make sense for that. So, I do find it fascinating that this is still the conversation that we're having. We're still having the conversation. This show ended a week ago. KC stopped being on the show a week and a half ago, and we're still having the conversation about whether or not a person who was not in the Final Four is red pill. And that's actually a point I want to talk about tonight. The point I want to talk about is we don't talk about these people as if they are regular people. We talk about them as if they are topics. We have discussed KC not as if he is a young man who is in a tremendously unique experience, who's trying to navigate this experience. And we also don't talk about him or any of the Islanders as if they are in a highly controlled, highly produced, highly edited, deliberately edited show. And through that deliberate edit, what we get from that is we get 1 hour out of the course of 36 hours that they live. And we're supposed to believe that this 1 hour that we're getting is the full truth of who they are and how they show up. That's absolutely and utterly ridiculous to me. And so the idea of saying that these folks are anything, completely labeling them as anything, is wild. Now, what we can say is, hey, some of the things we saw we didn't like, but also recognizing like past seasons have told us, people who are on past seasons have told us, production will pull you to the side and lie to you. Leah said that production was pulling her to the side and saying that Miguel was saying that he didn't like her, that he didn't see a future with her outside the villa. Surprise, they're still together 2 years later. So the fact that production was literally lying to these people in order to push their narratives, or there are other folks who've been on the show that said, yeah, I wanted to talk to this person and production shut it down. They wouldn't let me talk to that person. They wouldn't let me pull that person for chats, right? Or other times they're encouraged to pull other people for chats or given like, oh yeah, we've heard these different things. So we have a highly controlled, highly edited, highly manipulated experience. And through all of that, our response to it is to talk about these people as if they're not people. There's not a single person who did anything on this show, not a single person who did anything that we saw on this show that warrants them coming out of the villa and having to go into hiding or have death threats or have to deal with the vitriol, having to turn their comments off. And the reality is it's because they are fine. These kids on the show, they're okay. They're good. We're the weird ones. We are the weird ones for how we have behaved. We are the weird ones for how we have engaged, except for Alana. And even Alana, like, we are the weird ones for how we have engaged with this group of young people who are in a highly controlled, highly manipulated, highly produced, deliberately edited experience. And we're getting a deliberate edit, which is why we heard from the Islanders all the time. You're not in here. You don't know, right? Jen came out of there and was like, you all didn't see what I saw. So I don't know what you all are talking about. And the fact that we're coming out of this, and can I just say as a side note, I mean this with all sincerity, I don't know that Trinity knew that Still I Rise was a Maya Angelou quote. I don't know that she knew that. And she might have known that. And if she did, cool. Her making the Still I Rise, I guess, joke spawned a whole bunch of jokes about that. And I personally am uncomfortable with the prevalence by which people who are not Black are making fun of a tattoo that is talking about the struggles of Black people in a poem from one of the most prolific poets in Black history, and Maya Angelou. So, like, the interesting element of it is that I don't know if she did or didn't know the joke. And even then, I don't know that she knew, even if she did, that it would become a meme, that it would become viral, that it would become a thing that everyone was rocking what they're doing. But what we did, we took something in the edit and we contorted it into something that makes us look bad as a fan base, makes us look bad as a group of people who are consuming and engaging with this show. And so, I think that ultimately, my biggest takeaway from this season of the show is that the fan base is actually the group of people who are trash. The fan base is terrible. The fan base does not deal with these folks as if they are human. And like the objective, right, of going onto that show to find love, or going onto that show to find a connection, or going onto that show to grow your audience. And what we've done is that we have dehumanized these folks to the point that they're no longer fully people. And I think that that's gross, man. We're still arguing about whether or not a deliberate edit of a young man makes him worthy of existing, whether he should be allowed to navigate the world. And to be clear, I got on this platform every single night after that show, and I granted grace, and I gave the same caveat about how, hey, listen, this is a deliberate edit. Hey, listen, that we don't know these people. Hey, listen, like, here's some nuance to the conversation because we're being weird, right? And what I'm finding is that the ways in which we talk, and this isn't just Love Island, because I do want to talk about some other shows tonight. I would love to talk about Married at First Sight. I would love to talk about The Ultimatum. I'm watching both of those at the moment. I think the way that we interact with people online, but especially those that we see on TV, is gross. And I just wish that we would be better. I wish that we'd be better. And I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with the way that folks interact with folks online. I don't know what to do with it. So, I think at some point we have to look in the mirror. I said during movie night that movie night was necessary for KC. It was a mirror for him. Because up to that point, he's like, I just be saying shit. I just be doing shit. I don't care. I just be, And then he saw himself. If I could be pastoral for a second, there's a story of the prodigal son. And in that story, one of the things that it says is, as the prodigal son was about to eat of the pig slop, he said, and he came to the end of himself. There's this moment, you're watching KC sitting there going, oh my God, it was a mirror. And the night of movie night, I said he needed that mirror just as much as Anaya needed that moment of standing over him and yelling at him. That was a mirror for Anaya. She needed to see herself in that moment and be like, oh, that's out of my character. And here's the thing, because folks are like, oh, I think production made her do it. I don't care. What we do know is after we saw Mama Harvey, we know that Mama Harvey probably played in her brain. Mama Harvey was probably loud in her brain, like, girl, what are you doing? That's not how we act. Like, so she gets up, she apologizes for getting up in his face like that. He apologizes for all the ways that he moves. I'm wondering at what point we collectively, as the people who are watching this show, are going to have our mirror moment. And I'm afraid for what it would take for us to have a mirror moment. I'm afraid it would take someone who was on the show to have a serious mental health episode or incident for the fan base to actually recognize that we are terrible collectively. Now, and I'm going to include myself in the we, even though I did my best. I had people who I've been mutuals with for years unfollow me over this show. And I was sitting back and I promise you, I did some soul searching. I went and I looked at everything I posted about the show. I rewatched every single one of my posts. And I was like, at any point, did I say anything disparaging about Anaya? And I never did. And here's the thing, I'd have been the first person to get on here and be like, no, that was messed up. Before them people broke up, I was like, Anaya and KC are not compatible. They need to break up because this is not going to be good for either one of them. So, I was like, dang, I felt like I was on team they both deserve better the whole time. But here it is. We are the weird ones. We're making this really difficult for them. We're making their lives harder. We're putting them in harm's way. We're making it so that they can't go outside. We're making it so they don't know what they can do on a daily basis. These people, like, they've had to limit their comments. We are making it hard for them. That's an us thing, man. And I need us to have our mirror moment. Because these are real life people who are trying to do real life stuff. And this is my philosophy on things, is I always try to put myself in the shoes of people. Call it empathy, call it whatever you want. I always try to put myself in the shoes of folks. And I'm always like, man, if I was on that show, I would act the fool. I know I would. At 23, I'd have acted a fool. When I get signed, homie, I'm act a fool. I know I would have. Netflix reached out to me. Somebody from Netflix reached out to me when Love Is Blind was coming to Twin Cities, and I was like, nah. And one of the reasons why I was like, nah, is because I don't know how y'all are going to perceive me on the other side. And I'm not going to put myself, my family, everything around me in a negative position to get hurt because of it. Why? Because we on the internet don't know how to deal with people as people. We stop seeing them as people, we see them as topics. And listen, I have been the subject of discourse before. It is the most dehumanizing experience of your life. The most dehumanizing experience of your life when people are sitting there talking about you and you're like, that's not true. That's not true. And then people are like, well, I actually know him in X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I don't know you from Adam or Eve or Steve. Beavis or Beeve. I don't know. I don't know these people. I don't know how to hog tie people. But when we find ourselves in a position when all we do is create these spaces. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk and my soapbox on that. Yeah, a week out of the villa, and we still haven't heard from Casey for good reason. A week out of the villa, and people are making AI versions of pictures of Carl and Naya. A week out of the villa, some brands haven't figured out how to navigate. A week out of the villa, people are still making think pieces about who was right and who was wrong. Everyone was right and everyone was wrong. Everyone. But the people who are the most wrong in this entire situation, us. So, which is most fascinating now that I'm watching two more shows. I'm watching The Ultimatum and watching Married at First Sight. And so, we are trying to figure out. I hope that Casey has a smooth re-entry in the socials. He's reposted one thing, which was like kind of a compilation of some of the things that have been said about him. Some of the things that have been said about him, and then the Maya Angelou poem happening over the top of it. I thought that was beautifully done. And here's the thing: like, I'm watching some folk. He can't sue. He probably has a non-disparaging agreement in the contract he signed to be on the show. And what would he sue for? I think that if I can, and maybe I'll make a video about this, if I could talk to brands, I would say to brands that like, I understand hiring somebody Gen Z or Gen Alpha to run your social media page, but doggone it, get it together. Because these brands can't operate as people, because brands aren't people. So these brand pages can't have such specific opinions, and like, have somebody Black in the room. And here's the other part, and I need y'all to rock with me on this. Have a Black dude in the room as well, because like, some of the stuff that came out during some of the stuff that the brand said and did, I was like, Lord, have mercy, Jesus. Like the CeraVe was, I was highly disappointed. Like, my God, who let that happen? And I'm just saying, if I was in the room, I'd be like, we can't post that, right? We can't post that, right? So, but between the brands and the way that they moved and navigated and operated, and the fan bases, it's just. But I put a message out to him, regardless if he does my show or not. He is one of the inspirations behind a show I'm starting called Man Down, where we're having honest conversations about manhood with men, and creating a place of peace. Actually, I was talking to my barber the other day, and I was like, hey, I'm just going to come park in your shop one day in the next week or so, and I'm just going to talk to the men who come to the shop. And I just want to kind of ask them about parenting and relationships. And like, I just want to get a collection of all of these things, because I know the men that I am surrounded by, and I also um, I know that the men I'm surrounded by are not a perfect encapsulation of men as a whole. So I need to get a better sense and understanding of what some of the um, real inward thoughts and feelings are out there. So he and I started planning that, and I think that's going to be really great, because I would love to just have in that a conversation of like, bro, like why do you think men don't feel valued in relationships? Why do you think men struggle in relationships? What does parenting look like for you? Like be real and listen. I'm gonna keep it a bean. I'm the type where, like, I always speak lovingly and glowingly about the mother of my children, and no one co-parents funly, right? Like, no, there's no co-parenting situation that's like, this is always great, right? So like I can, like, oh no, hey bro, listen, we all got stories. And also, what what impact does that have? Like, I just, so that might end up being the first episode of the show, is me just at a barbershop. I might just stream it and see, and hope that we can keep it really, really trying to keep it PG, um, and go from there. Because I want to know where men's heads are at, so that we can start to have some conversations to help men move better across the board. Um, let's talk Married at First Sight. As we're, well, I should say, we can keep talking Love Island as we go, but I'd love to talk a little bit about Married at First Sight, because this show has been fascinating to me. I started doing some recap videos. I love that I have developed a format on accident. Fun fact about this format is I have borrowed it from CinemaSins. It's a YouTube I used to watch back in the day. But it'd be like, everything wrong with Spider-Man 3. Spoilers, duh. And I was like, I'm gonna take that. I loved it. I loved it conceptually. It told you exactly what was coming. I think that's a great tool when you're trying to get people to watch stuff. So being like, Love Island, season 8, episode 33. Spoilers, duh. Like, it's just a super helpful thing, and became a rhythm. People enjoyed the rhythm. And so getting to the spot of being like, hey, Married at First Sight, season 20, episodes 1 through 3. Spoilers, duh. Okay, so when we talk about who goes on reality TV shows, because like one of my big thought processes on the other side of this season of Love Island is, what would possess someone to go on that show moving forward? It's a risk. It's a lottery trying to predict if you're going to get the right edit. Hope that you do. It's a risk trying to figure out if you can or will end up finding a person who America also loves. Like, especially if you're a dude. Like, if you're a man, what is the likelihood that you are Bryce? What's the likelihood that you're Rob? What's the likelihood that you're like, yeah, just for the amount of damage. I'm going to talk about the man on Married at First Sight and whether or not he's gay in a second here, actually, because I think that is super important. For the what could possibly happen, I feel like going on Married at First Sight is it's a decision, it's a choice. You decided it. I mean, not or any television show, Love Island, Married at First Sight. So I think the pool of men who might exist on these shows, yes, is absolutely worth the watch. So right away, we get a gang of couples, right? We've got, and I don't even remember all their names, if I'm being real with you. I might have to look them up. But we get Adam, who I think is tremendously self-absorbed. We got Felipe, who's a party boy. We've got Mecca, who it's on Peacock. Mecca is first of all, there's a Mecca on TikTok. Her and oh my God, she's gonna be mad at me for forgetting her name just that fast. Oh my God. I'm gonna delete this footage. But there's a Mecca here on TikTok. She has a Jamila. Thank you. I was going Janae, and I knew that wasn't it. Yes, Mecca and Jamila have a podcast together that's phenomenal. They are hilarious. I had the chance to meet them. Had the chance to meet Jamila last year at Trending Up. Um, but I feel bad for TikTok Mecca because I already know that Married at First Sight Mecca is going to piss me off. And it's going to piss me off in very specific ways. And I know this because we watched how he interacts with his dad. And his dad, like there's this whole, he was telling his backstory, and his dad and his mom split at some point, and the mom's not in Mecca's life, but his dad's there, then a stepmom, but then a stepmom left. There was a whole bunch I was trying to follow, but the dad's the constant. And then we meet the dad, and the dad's like, I'm a principal. And I was like, okay, Black men in education, let's get it. But then he's just like, hey, like he's too cool. He's like a play from the Himalayas, right? And so he's like, hey, if she kiss you on the cheek, then she's trying to be meat, But if she don't want to run, she might give you that tongue. And I don't know if that was a direct quote, but it was kind of like that. It was kind of this idea of like, if she likes you for real, she's going to like want to kiss you. And he was like, you was up there. You was looking like, step back, you're dancing kind of close. His dad getting up there being like, yeah, just embarrassing his son, in part because I think that he himself is a lot. And one of the things I find very fascinating is men whose fathers are a lot and how their personality is, because I think there's a general desire to also inhabit that much je ne sais quoi, while at the same time there's a meekness that sometimes comes along with it, because when your dad is a lot, he fills up all the rooms that you're in. You're used to not being able to fill up that room. And I can kind of see that in Mecca, but he's, braids and he's got the diamonds in his teeth. He's got a whole situation going. He's very expressive in the way that he dresses. He's like, yeah, I own a sanitation company. Because at first he was like, yeah, I clean porta potties. And I was like, I don't think I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Clean porta potties. Okay, cool. That's interesting. But then come to find out he actually owns the company for the porta potty. It's an interesting situation. Plus he models. I mean, he's just got a lot going on. And, but like he seems to be in a marriage that might work from a personality standpoint. So I'm very intrigued to see what happens with them. Mecca's dad was more than anything. The couple that everyone's talking about is a couple, Nikki and Sean. Sean is Dr. Sean. He's a PhD in education. He is a VP at a college. He's a short king, Black dude. I think he said he was 5'6" or 5'7", right? And Nikki is an exec for a tech company, and she makes like $300,000 a year. And she gave her list of things that she wanted. She said, I want, someone who could tower over me, so 6 foot plus. I want somebody who makes, $250,000 a year plus. But then after all these lists she gave, she was like, but also I've dated people who made less than me. Also, I've dated someone shorter than me. Also, I'm sapiosexual. So, I love hearts, not parts. And I was like, mm-hmm. And that was when the matchmakers were like, cool, we're going to match you with somebody short. But when they did that, the discourse that's happening right now is around Sean, because Sean is very whimsical, is the word I used to describe him before. Sean is some of his mannerisms, some of his inflections come across soft or sweet. And the conversation is being had right now is not just, so on the one hand, it's like, why do shows like, Love Island, Love is Blind, Married at First Sight, why do all these reality shows play in Black women's faces? That's the first conversation, right? Is if, Black women are asking for these things, they're not asking for too much. And Black women should not be forced to or asked to settle. Black women should be able to be in these experiences, be in these relationships. They should have what they ask for. They should have the height and the physical build and the income and the age range that they want. And what she's asking for, because I think she's 46, right? 47, somewhere in there. She's asking for someone in their 40s who's never been married, no kids, who makes $300,000 a year, who is also taller than her and is also physically fit. And like, I can understand wanting those things. I think this is a very, very important part of this conversation. Wanting those things makes sense. Everything she just described, it makes total sense for her to want those things. And I think some of the pushback that folks are getting or giving with the show is, and this is what I said, the pool of men that exist that fit that description is very, very small. The pool of men that fit that description and are also in Seattle, smaller. The pool of men that fit the description or would be in Seattle and also would be willing to go on Married at First Sight, very, very small. And someone pointed out here just in the comments over on TikTok, yeah, I think Black women should begin to have the conversation if they have certain expectations about not just wanting to be with Black men. Yes, ma'am.
Oh no, I was just listening.
Okay. And I think that if a person says, I want this income, I want this age range, I want these things, that is a reasonable thing to ask for. But I also believe that you have to understand that if you want to have the most amount of people available to you, then there's certain things you have to be open to. Race has to be one of them. Age has to be one of them, right? Because sometimes it's like, okay, I want this income. That income might come 15 to 20 years older, right? And there are elements that come with 15 to 20 years older that change your romantic dynamic, right? And I think this is the important thing. I think folks just think, I'm gonna push all these levers to the top. And if I put all these levers to the top, I'm gonna find the perfect man. And it's like, yeah, but like if you change one lever, right? If you go, okay, but he's gonna be older now, it's gonna change some of the physicality. Or he's gonna be taller. That might change some of the health concerns down the line, right? Or, okay, I'll take less money, but then what impact is it? Like all of these different things. And the question that we're constantly being asked in relationships, the question that we're constantly being asked as we're dating people, which I do want to talk, I want to take a slight pivot in a second here. The question we're being asked when we're dating people is who are you? What are all the elements that make you you? Am I attracted to those elements or can I grow with those elements? Am I compatible with those elements? And then we have to begin to make decisions about what to do from there. One of the things that is really frustrating for me relationally, from a communication standpoint, is that we have not developed over time the framework to just be able to say, nah, this ain't it. Like just I'm wondering, for people who are watching, how many of y'all have ever had to break up with somebody and you didn't have a real big reason why? Like it wasn't, infidelity, it wasn't some major blow up, or like it's just literally like, no, this vibe isn't here. Like it's just not there. How do you, and there are so many people who end up marrying somebody because two folks decide that the vibe was worth dealing with long term, ultimately to just be in a bad spot. Do you know how much of like when you're the person who's having to have that conversation, there's something about you that's like, dang, it's not that you're bad. You're not a bad person, because what we have done is we have made breakups. We have made breakups the byproduct of somebody's deficiencies. So when we say, I don't want to be in a relationship with you, what we have societally contrived is that you should only break up with someone if there is something wrong with them. So when you're the person broken up with, what is the first thing we always say? What's wrong with me? Why not me? What is wrong with me? Because we have sociologically developed this idea that breakups can only happen because of something bad. As opposed to, and as a person who I got divorced at 31, got back into the dating world, the number of times I was at drinks with somebody and I was like, it's just not. And the thing is, like, I would try my best to be like, hey, I had a great time. Like, this feels like maybe we're not aligned on some things, but like, I hope that, wish you well, because it's the first date. The problem is when you're down the line and you start to go, oh, this is not there. Like, and I'm a believer that every person should have the right, all things considered, every person should have the right to say, this relationship is no longer serving the purposes that it needs to serve. Every person should have the right to say, like, there are certain pretenses I got into this relationship with, right? Like, you should have the right to be able to do that. But what we've done is we've gone, no, breakups should only happen when things are bad. So the problem, I think, is so often we are not really taking compatibility into consideration. I've heard folks say, I make this work. I can make this work. Why would you want to make something work? Like, I don't ever want to make something work. Ever. Like I said, I got married at 20. And like, to be at a spot where I was in my 30s trying to figure it out. What about love? I am an Aries. So for me, the idea of like trying to just, oh, we're gonna work this out. Like, obviously, I was married and had children. We were trying to make that work. But at that point, we had been in it. But the idea of just off rip, yeah, I got married at 20. They should not have let me do that. I said it all the time. The idea of being early in a relationship and being like, well, we're just gonna figure it out. Because oftentimes what we consider to be love is just my trauma and your trauma. There's a familiarity between them. My crazy and your crazy know each other. Eckhart Tolle, who wrote this book, A New Earth, he describes the idea of like all of the issues and things in us as a pain body. And he says sometimes people aren't in love; they just have reciprocal pain bodies, right? And mine makes it so that, you know, there's something about you on the inside where like you like being a victim and I like being the villain, or vice versa. I'm not saying me. I'm just saying like that idea. And I think here's the thing. I think that because we have placed these check boxes, right? I'm looking for a man in finance, 6'5", blue eyes. We've placed these check boxes. We've left the ability to actually go, who are you? Are you more than just 6'5", blue eyes? Because if that's it, if the entirety of the dating situation can be summed up in, here are, I want 5'5" with brown eyes, caramel complexion, smile like the sunrise, rock body like heavy. That makes sense that if I just want somebody who's gonna like be on my arm. How do we get to know people and figure out, is there a vibe? Baby, are you looking for the ride, right? So I think in this show in particular, it is interesting that you have this couple, Nikki and Sean, who for all intents and purposes actually align a lot. Like, I think what the matchmakers are trying to say is you all align in your values. You all align for all intents and purposes, probably financially. I mean, he's probably doing really well. You all align in your outlook on life. There's a lot of spaces and places of compatibility, whereas his height and physical build might not be one of them. And then the other element here is, and he's very whimsical. Now, I will, to the cows come home, always, whenever the discourse around a man and whether or not he's straight, come back to the same concept. That the only thing that determines whether or not a man is gay, straight, bisexual, or otherwise is if he is attracted sexually or romantically to other men. That's it. And I'm saying that as a person who I've stopped trying to fight the allegations. Like, I posted me and my fiance, and people were in there, wait, you're straight? Indeed. So that, like, and all the speculation that comes with that. Oh, like, so I'm gonna give you the list of reasons why people believe that I'm gay. Just let's do this. One, what's up? We're talking about Married at First Sight, and one of the guys in Married at First Sight, people are speculating he's gay. This is important context. So here's a list of reasons why people presume or believe that I'm gay. Number one, because I talk with my hands. Like, I'm very expressive with my hands. I'm constantly moving my hands around. Number two, I don't have a very deep voice. Like, I can't even do like, my voice is very, up here, very airy. I have too many facial expressions. Is another reason why people listed. I smile too much. I'm always smiling. Someone said that I have a pink aura, and I was like, "So I got a colorful aura, like I got neon guts, right?" Apparently, I don't always pronounce my P's well enough or my S's well enough. Sometimes I overpronounce my S's. Like, legit, I think the expectation of me as a straight man online is this: Love Island, season 9, let's go. Like, real N-words don't smile. What you talking about? Not smiling? Like, it. So the idea that I am this, and then you be talking about stuff that's female stuff. You be talking about, why are you watching that show? Like, I watch Love Island with my fiance and my sister. Like, also that doesn't help. Right. But it's been my whole life. Like, it's literally been my entire life. And it's just what it is, right? Because once again, I grew up in, the era where, I'm the black dude who my clothes fit and stuff. So, and I always go like, man, folks have like such the most broken gaydar ever. And like, I have friends who are gay, and I have asked them, like, bro, do I give off? No, I would never guess that. One of my gay friends actually said that the thing about me is that there are very few straight black men who are safe, and that is such a major difference. He's like, so if you find yourself in spaces where gay black men are just around you, but they're not hitting on you, it's in part because you give safe. You give it's okay to be yourself around you. So, like I said, at this point, I actually lean into the allegations at this point, because I think that being the type of man who women feel safe around, who queer and trans folks feel safe around, is invaluable. Being a safe person is invaluable. And I think that, like, I'm really glad to just be this popping. Right? I'm glad that I'm this known and like out there, because we need more examples of what that means. So I'm Clarkin. Hey, I'll take it. So I think that's that. So whenever these conversations come up about somebody online or somebody on TV, I will always come back to this space. Now, is it possible that Sean is gay? It's possible that anyone's gay. Listen, I know for a fact that there are like trans women who collect rappers. Like, rappers are constantly in their DMs, want to hook up with them. I know that this is true. So the fact that some of the hardest men get hard for men means that we really can't tell these things. So if Sean decided to address this amen, awesome. But until then, I don't like the speculation, and I don't like how weird we are about it. As the Black community, we very much are weird about queer folks. It is a thing. I wish that we would take the time to actually address, because like that, we got to be better about this. So, we get the next couple episodes of that coming up, or the next episode of that comes up on Wednesday. The other show I'm watching, I'm gonna log off of here. I love how we're discussing the vibes I have in the comments on TikTok. I love y'all for this. Yeah, I've always been Urkel. But I remember, I think I was in the 10th grade, and I thought I like nailed this thing, where someone was like, oh, Urkel over there. I was like, all right, I'm Urkel. But when your girl come around, I'm Stefan. And in my head, I was like, you killed that one. They didn't think I killed it. I don't watch Big Brother. I need to watch Big Brother. I just haven't yet, because I just haven't. But the other show I'm watching right now is The Ultimatum. I'm halfway through. I'm gonna jump back in tonight and start running through some of those episodes. Once again, the pool of men who exist on these shows, it's scary, guys. It's like, is this camera on me? This is stupid, guys. The guys who are actually on the show are terrible, horrible, no good, very bad. I was so glad that they got spoilers ahead. There's one couple, and there's a guy, Jebin, and the whole time I was like, send him home. Send him home. Oh, thank you so much. You love my take on Adam, or you would love my take on Adam, because I did post one. They're Big Brother's episodes in threes. Okay, I'm gonna have to do that. But the Ultimatum so far has just been what it is. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. The episodes have just been what they are. I'm actually really excited about this next swath of episodes, where we actually start to get these couples in these trial marriages and what actually happens. Yeah, Jebin was terrible, but Jebin, I think, was the most immature person I've seen on any reality TV show in a very long time. He literally said that any woman who ends up being with me has to accept that she's my new mom. That's crazy work. Also, the fact that he was on there saying the reason why my family does not accept my girlfriend and won't let me marry her is because she's not Indian and we're Indian, but then wasn't no Indian women on the show. So I was like, what are you doing? The tallest toddler I've ever seen is such a great way of describing it. This man was like, what's an orca? Fam, we don't know. And then the that is, I don't know why I hadn't thought of that before. I'm sorry, I just had a random thought. So then you have him. Then you had the one Edris. Yeah, listen, in families where culture is everything, culture will remain everything. And I'm like, y'all should just break up. And like by the end of it, I hope they broke up because he's a terrible person. Yes, Hotter Than July, Stevie Wonder. I hope that they broke up because he's a terrible person. But ultimately, I think that they need to break up because they can never get married, because it's just never going to work. And the funny thing is, they'll break up and his parents will find him a nice Indian girl in like 3 weeks and then get married. Edris, that entire relationship was weird. He seemed high the whole time. Like I'd never seen anyone so out of it on a show before. So now we're actually left with the couples who should be doing this. And my goal is to at least watch the next episodes through the trial marriages and then make some recaps from that and get those out. But this has been fun. My plan is to do these every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. Talk about what's happening in the world. I didn't even touch on the stuff in the World Cup. I just didn't feel like touching it. I didn't watch the game, but Trump embarrassing himself at the end. So can we just collectively watch this real quick if you're over on the YouTube? If you're not, by the way, because more of you all are watching on TikTok than on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. But if you haven't, I would so be grateful if you took the time to go over to my YouTube and subscribe. I'm trying to build that up. I'm gonna make a post about this later on, but I last week got laid off from my job in the nonprofit world, which it was time. It was time for me to take the next step and actually do this full time, but also this is a scary leap that I'm taking. So I could use all the support in the world. But I'd really appreciate that. I'm going to forego that video because it doesn't really make sense to do. Yep, Just Wayne Creative on YouTube. And so, hey, yep, Just Wayne Creative on YouTube. If you type in Just Wayne, I'll be there. Lightning McQueen from the South, exactly. But thank you all, everybody, on all the platforms for watching. I'll be back, like I said, multiple times a week with just my takes on what's happening in the world and specifically what's happening in reality TV. But this journey has been so fun with all of y'all, and it's just getting started. So I love y'all on all the platforms. Until next time, be easy.